This is hallowed ground, the Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School building, where 14 students and 3 teachers died in a mass shooting 6 years ago. Even now, their blood stains the classrooms. Cameras were not allowed inside the building out of respect for the dead. But Vice President Kamala Harris described the horrible time capsule she entered.
I was in classrooms where, frozen in time, the laptops of that era are still on the desks.
Investigators left the crime scene untouched all these years to preserve evidence for the shooter's trial. He was a troubled former student, reported to police many times, but still allowed to buy guns. Now that he's been sentenced to life in prison, the building will be demolished.
We tell the stories not only of how they were shot, but who they were. The students, they all had bright futures ahead of them.
Tony Montalto lost his 14-year-old daughter, Gina. He says the vice president's visit was meaningful.
Having the attention of that high in office to focus on school safety and gun violence prevention certainly, of course, is helpful. She spent some time going around with each of the families. She sat with us. She spoke with us. She heard about our loved ones.
Since the Parkland shooting, Florida and 20 other states passed red flag laws. Those allow police to temporarily take away guns from people who are deemed to be a danger to themselves or to others. And here in Florida alone, that measure has been used more than 12,000 times. Harris announced a new federal program to help states implement red flag laws and called on more states to adopt them. She said she would continue pushing for a ban on assault weapons and universal background checks, measures that lack support in Congress.
And we must be willing to have the courage to say that on every level, whether you talk about changing laws or changing practices and protocols, that we must do better.
Critics of the vice president's visit say this was political theater, a campaign stop exploiting tragedy. But Jaden D'Onofrio, a young Democratic activist, says voters in his generation have been craving Harris's message.
And so by meeting young people where they are, by going to these high schools where these tragedies have happened, where a lot of people have been affected, I think that shows their commitment to making sure that young voters are heard.
Guns are now the leading cause of death for American children, and gun violence expected to be a top issue for young voters in November. Heidi Zhou-Castro, Al Jazeera, Parkland, Florida.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.